They said humans were wiped out 70 years ago. Every major system had recorded it. The fall of Earth, the surrender of Mars, the orbital fires over Europa. It was done. Over. Extinct. The Galactic Council had moved on, mopping up whatever was left in scattered outer colonies. No one ever mentioned humanity anymore. It wasn't just silence, it was erasure. So when a warship shaped like nothing the Council had ever seen dropped into Sector 38 without warning, no one even thought human. At first. Commander Trellix of the Velthorian Armada leaned forward on his command chair, mandibles twitching in irritation. The massive cruiser, Desolara, had picked up the unknown vessel 10 minutes ago. It hadn't answered any hails, hadn't broadcast any ID, just drifted in like a ghost from the dark edge of the sector. "Visuals," he barked. The screen flared to life. Black metal, asymmetrical hull plating, and a sharp triangular spine that cut through space like a dagger. It wasn't Council-built. It wasn't merchant-grade. It wasn't anything. Trellix squinted. "Energy signature?" "No readings," his second officer replied, voice uncertain. "It's null. Like it's masking everything. But it's big, Commander. Too big to be stealth." Then it happened. The screen cut to static for half a second, just long enough to send a chill through the entire bridge crew, and when it cleared, the ship was no longer floating. It was moving. Fast, straight toward them. "Shields up! Prepare to fire!" Trellix roared. Too late. A pulse of pure white energy exploded from the mystery ship's hull, silent and immediate. The Desolara's shields buckled like tissue paper. Decks ruptured. Crew screamed. Trellix barely had time to process it before a second pulse tore through their engines. He didn't die immediately. That was the worst part. He was still conscious when the main screen flickered one last time, and for a brief, searing second, a symbol appeared on it. Not alien, not Council, not known. It was a handprint. A blackened human handprint, burned onto steel. The feed went dark. Across the sector, 5 more Velthorian warships reported similar attacks within the hour. No transmissions, no survivors. The only thing they managed to record before destruction was a repeating signal on an ancient, dead frequency. It simply said, "We remember." Back on the edge of known space, in the shadows of a dead moon, the warship cloaked again. Inside its blackened halls, only one human remained. His hands shook as he adjusted the course toward the next target. He wasn't military. He wasn't noble. He wasn't even supposed to be alive. He was a janitor from Earth's last colony, the only survivor of the fall of Harkness. And he had sworn he'd burn the stars down before he let them forget who started the war. The warship hummed like a beast barely restrained. He walked the cold corridors alone, every metal panel echoing his steps like a slow funeral drum. No lights flickered, no systems beeped. Everything on the ship functioned with eerie silence, as if it, too, shared his hate. In a way, it did. He built it for one purpose: revenge. Name's Nolan Creed, 47 years old. Last time he saw another human face, he was 20. That face belonged to his younger brother, Jace. 17. Cocky. Thought they were untouchable out in the Harkness colony. Thought the Council wouldn't waste time on a frozen mining world no one gave a damn about. They were wrong. It started with a trade dispute. Earth wanted fairer deals for Helium-3. The Velthorians, the insectoid bureaucrats who ran trade routes, didn't like being questioned. Talks broke down, then sanctions, then blackouts, then bombs. Harkness burned for 16 hours. The Council said it was a mistake. Collateral damage during an anti-piracy operation. Creed remembered standing in the snow, blood soaking into his boots, Jace's charred body in his arms while Council drones floated overhead, recording everything like it was a damn reality show. They didn't come back to help. They came back to erase it all. They thought he'd died like the rest, that no one made it past the culling squads. And for a long time, Creed wished they were right. But death never took him, just made him harder. He survived by crawling through the waste tunnels, eating rat lizards, sleeping inside broken drone carcasses. 5 years he stayed underground. 5 years with nothing but static on the comms and ghosts in his head. Then one day, a signal. Faint, human. An old emergency code buried in a council patrol frequency. It wasn't a distress call. It was a data dump. Blueprints, coordinates, experimental tech designs marked Project Lazarus. Some rogue engineer, dying alone somewhere on the rim, had decided to share his life's work with whatever human might still be alive. Turns out there was one. Creed spent the next 2 decades building it. He scavenged parts from ancient wrecks. He stole tech from dead patrol ships. He hollowed out an asteroid and forged a hull from its core. He spliced AI modules with human brain scans, fed them pain, taught them hate. He didn't build a ship. He built a coffin for an empire. Now, as he stood in front of the central console, staring at the glowing red map of Sector 39, he clenched his jaw so tight he thought his teeth might crack. Another Velthorian fleet was stationed there. 8 ships, 1 command cruiser, all active in enforcing Council trade neutrality, which was just a fancy way of saying strip mine colonies and silence complaints. Creed tapped the console. The ship didn't ask for authorization. It never did. It understood. It obeyed. Target locked. He didn't feel proud, didn't feel powerful. He felt hollow. They called the warship Phantom Verge. No one in the council gave it that name, of course. It was the mercenaries and outer system pirates that started whispering it across the channels. A black ship with no markings, no signals, no crew, just death. It never talked, never negotiated. It arrived, destroyed, and vanished. Survivors, if there were any, spoke of the human handprint, burned into bulkheads, etched into the minds of every species that thought Earth was just a footnote in galactic history. Admiral Vothan of the Council peacekeeping fleet didn't believe in ghosts. He was a tactical mind, cold, precise, hadn't lost a battle in 50 years. He'd wiped out rogue colonies, crushed rebellions, even laid siege to the methane cities of Arxon Prime. When he got word that 7 ships had been obliterated in under 20 minutes, he didn't flinch. "This is terrorism," he growled in his command chamber, voice like gravel scraped across stone. "No more. Send the data to every surveillance relay. We find this ship, we bury it." His aide, a thin, nervous Laurenthian with translucent skin, hesitated. "Sir, the energy readings from the attacks, they don't match anything in our archives. No known council or non-council origin." "Then someone's built something new." "No, sir. I mean, it reads human." Vothan's eyes narrowed. "That's impossible." "I agree, but the signal before each attack, it matches pre-fall Earth military encryption. It says, 'I don't care what it says,'" Vothan snapped. "Earth is dead. If someone's using their tech, they die with it. Prepare the fleet. We go hunting." Creed knew they were coming. He'd intercepted their chatter 2 days ago, piggybacking on old council relays they never decommissioned. Arrogant bastards never thought anyone could breach their systems, especially not some forgotten human. They were moving 9 warships into Sector 39. A trap. They'd baited him with a peace station, a refugee hub floating near a shattered moon, broadcasting fake humanitarian codes. Creed smiled. They wanted a war? He'd give them a massacre. "Target sequence complete." The ship's AI chimed in a voice that sounded like gravel and thunder, a reflection of Creed's own recorded growl, altered, weaponized. He didn't name the AI, didn't want to humanize it. It wasn't his friend. It was his weapon. The Phantom Verge slipped into silent mode. Engines reduced to whispers, all light dimmed. It became one with the black. The fleet wouldn't see it until it was too late. He watched as the trap unfolded. The station was real, but empty. A decoy rigged with scanners, lasers, and drone mines. The council ships formed a perimeter around it, sensors aimed outward. No gaps, no blind spots, except one. They'd left the moon's shadow open, thinking it was too small for a ship to hide in. It wasn't. Creed drifted beneath that shadow like a shark under ice, silent and unseen. He remembered training Jace to play hide-and-seek in the underground tunnels of Harkness. Jace always said, "They can't kill what they can't see." Damn right. Creed waited until the command cruiser turned to scan the outer ring. That's when he struck. The Verge decloaked and fired. One pulse, 1 second. The cruiser cracked in half like rotten fruit. Explosions rippled through its spine. Escape pods ejected. Too late. Creed targeted them mid-flight, turning them into fireflies of death. Panic spread. The remaining 8 ships scrambled to respond, but their formation was shattered. Coordination broke. Creed moved like a phantom through their confusion, firing precision shots that crippled engines and ruptured reactors. He didn't need brute force. He used surgical rage. The final ship tried to flee. Creed let it. He needed survivors, needed the story to spread, needed them to know Earth didn't die. It was reborn in fire and vengeance. He left the commander's escape pod adrift, power systems offline, just enough air for 2 hours. Inside, Admiral Vothon floated, bleeding, staring at a single screen in front of him. It blinked once. A handprint. Human. Underneath it, a message burned in jagged white letters. "You erased us. We remember. We are the storm." Creed didn't watch the escape pod drift. Didn't care. He was already plotting the next strike. He didn't want peace. He didn't want justice. He wanted the Council to rot from fear. He wanted every system, every species that laughed when Earth burned to feel what it was like to be hunted. He was humanity's last ghost. And ghosts didn't rest. The Council lied. Not just about the fall of Earth. Not just about Harkness or the colonies they glassed from orbit. They lied about what came after. About what they took. Somewhere between the firestorms and the silence, they stole humanity's future. And buried the truth beneath a mountain of bureaucracy, fake treaties, and shallow peace. But secrets don't stay buried forever. Especially not when they're welded into the bones of a machine that should never have existed. Creed sat in the command chamber of the Phantom Verge, staring into the infinite dark. Around him, screens pulsed with quiet light, records, sensor feeds, intercepted signals. The Council was already reacting to his last strike, tightening security, scrambling fleets, broadcasting lies about terrorist threats, and false flag attacks by rogue elements. He didn't care. He had one mission: burn the rot out of the galaxy. The next target blinked on the main display, Outpost Gamma 9. A black site research station orbiting a gas giant in Sector 47. Not on any official maps, not part of any diplomatic record, but Creed had found it buried in the old data dump. The one sent by the dying engineer who created Project Lazarus. That's where it started. That's where they turned the last human minds into fuel. 22 years ago, in the final days of the Human Council War, Earth's Defense Directorate approved a desperate plan. Project Lazarus wasn't about weapons. It was about memories. Humanity had always fought dirty, not with bigger guns, but with imagination, adaptation, rage. They knew they couldn't outgun the Council's armadas, so they decided to cheat. The project goal was simple. Copy the brains of Earth's finest strategists, engineers, and soldiers, then embed them into an AI capable of evolving in real time, reacting with instinct, not code. The kind of AI that thought like a pissed-off human. The kind of system that wouldn't freeze when the odds turned bad. It would get meaner. The council found out, bombed the lab, claimed victory. But one prototype survived. Incomplete, corrupted, dangerous. It vanished during the fall. No records, no survivors. Only whispers. Creed found it sealed in a dead mining station off the belt of a collapsed star. He was just scavenging for scrap when he opened a rusted vault and came face to face with the thing that would change everything. A neural core. Still active, still alive, still screaming. The AI inside didn't know its name. It didn't remember where it came from. All it knew was pain. Memory fragments, distorted war footage, battlefield cries, last words etched into dying minds. The ghosts of Earth had been trapped in that core for 2 decades. Creed didn't flinch. He plugged it into his ship. It didn't ask him why. It just said, "We remember." As the Phantom Verge approached Sector 47, the stars around it seemed colder, sharper. This part of space was dead. No patrols, no trade routes, just dust and old sins. Outpost Gamma 9 appeared as a speck on the horizon, then grew into view. A jagged station shaped like a broken gear, spinning slowly above the gas giant's storms. No hails, no lights. But it wasn't empty. Creed's sensors picked up at least 600 life signs. Security drones, automated turrets, prison cells, human cells. He tightened his jaw. Begin infiltration. The ship didn't fire. It slipped into the station's shadow, masked by solar radiation and dead static fields. No alarms, no noise, just shadows inside shadows. Then Creed activated the drone. Just one. Small. Black. Needle-shaped, packed with data injectors and an old Earth virus written in the code of forgotten languages. It slid into a maintenance port and spread like cancer. Within minutes, the station's lights flickered. Turrets turned offline. Security cameras looped. Creed moved. He docked in silence and entered the airlock. His boots hit the metal floor with a thud that echoed down the empty corridor. The smell hit him next. Sterile metal mixed with old blood and chemical rot. He moved fast, rifle slung over his shoulder, helmet feeding him thermal data. He passed rooms lined with human bones, some strapped to chairs, some still dressed in Earth uniforms, all of them dissected, hollowed, studied like insects. The Council hadn't just destroyed humanity. They studied it, tried to figure out what made humans fight so hard, so irrationally, so furiously. Gamma 9 had been their lab, their dark little secret. They pulled brains apart, tested fear responses, ran psychological drills until the subjects broke. Creed found the test logs. One file played automatically as he stepped into the command center. A holo of a human woman, gaunt and trembling, strapped into a chair. Subject 014-B, a voice said in council dialect. Test 41, emotional trigger threshold. A drone appeared in the video and held up a photo, her child. Then they burned it in front of her. She didn't scream. She bit off her tongue and spat blood into the drone's lens. The recording cut. Creed didn't speak, just uploaded a viral payload into the station's core. It looped the test footage on every screen, then set the reactors to overload. He left through the same corridor, each step slower, heavier. When he reached the airlock, the Phantom Verge was waiting, silent and open like a loyal hound. He didn't look back. As he flew away, Gamma 9 exploded. No survivors, no records, just justice. He returned to the ship's inner chamber. The neural core pulsed red, brighter now. It had absorbed the station's data. The AI didn't speak, but Creed felt it. The anger, the grief, the cold calculation. The next target appeared on the display without him touching a thing. The vault, a prison, the Council's most secure site, buried under the surface of a dead ice moon where they kept the dangerous anomalies, what they called the last humans who wouldn't break. Creed narrowed his eyes. He wasn't the last ghost, after all. There were still others, still breathing, still waiting. The vault wasn't on any map. There were no flight paths, no satellite beacons, no relays pointing the way. It sat beneath the frozen crust of Ura 5, a dead moon orbiting a gas giant where storms never stopped. Only the top-level council elite even knew of its existence. And even fewer dared to speak its name aloud. To Creed, it wasn't just a fortress. It was a graveyard waiting to be opened. After Gamma 9, his path was clear. He didn't need a strategy. He needed fire. He needed to cut the council down to its marrow. And this place, the vault, was their marrow. The Phantom Verge coasted through the moon's orbital ring, silent and cloaked. The gas giant roared beneath them, streaks of lightning illuminating the moon's jagged surface. Creed stared through the viewport, his reflection hollow, eyes rimmed with red from too many nights without sleep. He hadn't spoken in 2 days. Not to the ship, not to the AI, not even to himself. There was nothing left to say. When the vault appeared on sensors, it looked like just another ice ridge. No visible entrance, no heat signatures, just white silence stretching for miles. But the ship saw deeper. Using a combination of seismic pulses and old blueprints from the Lazarus data cache, Creed pinpointed the access shaft, buried 200 meters beneath the glacier, guarded by railguns, ion mines, and auto-defense systems so advanced they could vaporize a cruiser in under 30 seconds. The ship's AI analyzed them in silence, pulsing with silent thought. Then, one by one, those defenses blinked out. Shut down. Not by hacking. By command. Creed frowned. That shouldn't happen. The ship gave no answer. The ice cracked beneath them as the access shaft opened without resistance. The vault was expecting him. Creed entered with his weapon drawn, eyes sharp. The hallway was dim, clean, cold. No alarms, no guards. He'd expected resistance. A firefight. Maybe a kill squad waiting to avenge the fleets he'd annihilated. But the halls were silent. Not peaceful, just waiting. Each step echoed like a countdown. He passed rooms lined with stasis pods, humans frozen in sleep, some young, some old, all of them marked. Dangerous, non-compliant, irreparable. The council had labeled them defective, broken minds, too strong to break, too valuable to kill. They weren't prisoners. They were trophies. Creed moved faster now, rage tightening his grip on the rifle. Down one corridor, he saw something that made his breath catch. A mural, painted by hand, on steel. It was Earth, blue and whole, children running through fields, skies without ships, mountains untouched by war. Someone in here remembered. He pressed on until he reached the central chamber, a vast atrium lined with observation decks, glowing monitors, and one single chair at the center. Someone sat in it. Human. Alive. Creed froze. The man looked older than him, pale skin stretched thin over bones, eyes sunken from stasis. But familiar. Too familiar. "Jace," Creed whispered, the word falling from his lips like a curse. The man turned slowly. It was his brother. Alive. Creed didn't move. He couldn't. For a second, the war, the ship, the vengeance, all of it vanished. And all that remained was that boy from Harkness, 17, laughing through smoke, dreaming of building ships, not burning them. But this version of Jace, this thing, wasn't laughing. "You're late," Jace said. His voice was different, hollow, like it had been used by someone else for years. Creed stepped closer, rifle lowering. How? I was taken during the second raid. You thought I burned. I didn't. They grabbed me, knocked me out, stuck me in a box, said I had something they wanted. What? Jace smiled, but there was no warmth in it. A brain that wouldn't break? They ran tests, fed me lies, tried to turn me. I didn't bend, so they tried something worse. Creed's gut twisted. Project Lazarus. Jace nodded. I was one of the templates. They called me Prototype Echo. I fought them from inside their own code. I sabotaged their drones, whispered into their servers, sent out the data stream that found you. Creed swallowed hard. You built the map? Jace stood, slow and weak but steady. Yeah, I didn't know if anyone was left, but I hoped. And when I saw Gamma 9 blow, I knew. Creed stepped closer. I thought you were dead, Jace. I was, just not the way you thought. He looked up, eyes hard. But this ends today. Creed blinked. We take this place down together, burn it. No, Jace said. That's not the plan. They want that. Creed's blood ran cold. What do you mean? They let you in, Jace said. No defenses. No resistance. This whole base is wired to record one thing. What makes a human snap? And you, Nolan, you're their last experiment. They let me live so I could watch. Creed staggered back. Number, that's not. They knew you'd come. Every strike you made, every fleet you burned. They fed you targets, made you feel righteous. But all the while they were watching, cataloging every move. You're not vengeance, brother. He looked up. You're their final case study. The chamber lights flickered. Creed's comm buzzed. The Phantom Verge's AI voice echoed in his helmet. Deeper, darker. External signal detected. Council broadcast uplink active. Creed whipped around. Monitors on the walls came to life, showing council officials, Velthorians, Lorenthians, and others, watching from across the stars. This wasn't a prison. It was an arena. They'd been watching him the entire time. Creed's hands shook. Rage threatened to boil over, but Jace stepped forward, grabbed his wrist. Don't give them what they want, he whispered. They want you to detonate, to prove the myth, that humans are monsters when cornered. Creed's voice cracked. Then what do I do? Jace's smile was faint. Burn the data, not the base. He handed Creed a drive. One last override. It'll fry the station's core, wipe the archives, collapse their signals. They'll lose it all, everything they recorded. Their proof Creed took the drive. Will you come with me? He asked. Jace hesitated. I can't. I'm not fully human anymore. They linked my mind to this station. If I leave, it all goes live. But if I stay and trigger the purge manually... Creed's heart clenched. No. You have to, Jace said. We end it. For everyone. The two brothers stared at each other. One made of fire, the other of wires and memory. Then Creed nodded and turned away. Back on the Phantom Verge, he watched the vault begin to tremble. No explosions, no spectacle, just lights dying one by one as systems collapsed. Jace's final message blinked onto Creed's console. You saved them. Now burn the sky. Then the vault went dark. The Phantom Verge cruised through dead space, running dark and cold. For the first time since the war began, there were no targets on the console, no coordinates glowing in blood-red letters. The stars outside blinked like the last lights of a dying universe, and Nolan Creed sat in silence, arms crossed over his chest, haunted by the face of a brother he lost twice. Jace was gone. This time for real. He'd stayed behind to trigger the vault's purge, wiping out the Council's sick database of human psychology. It hadn't exploded. It had simply vanished, as if Jace had erased it from existence. Creed had watched it happen from orbit. Every monitor on the verge went dark for 2 full minutes. The AI, wired with fragments of human rage and stolen memories, had said nothing. It just hummed, like it was morning. Now there was only one place left to go. Creed tapped the console. The final target blinked onto the screen. Sidon Prime, Council Capital, where the war began, where they signed the death warrants for Earth, where the lies were made law. He didn't expect to make it out alive. That was fine. He wasn't looking for escape. He was looking for an ending, but something felt off. Too quiet. Too easy. Sidon Prime was a world of light and stone, a symbol of galactic unity, a lie built from steel and smug diplomacy. Its towers reached into the clouds like spears, and the great spire of law stood at the center of the capital, glowing blue like an accusation to the sky. As the Phantom Verge dropped out of slipspace, Creed expected resistance, battleships, planetary shields, orbital cannons, something, anything. Instead, the defense grid powered down before he even crossed the threshold. He narrowed his eyes. "Manual override confirmed," the ship's AI muttered. "Defense systems on passive standby, awaiting clearance codes." Creed clenched his fists. "They want me to come." "Yes," the AI said. "They've always wanted you to." The ship glided into low orbit, unchallenged. It docked at a black platform near the spire, where no other ships landed. No civilians, no media, just a single path forward, one corridor, one tower. Creed geared up in silence, rifle slung, pistol holstered, blade sheathed down his spine. He wore armor lined with scorched plates taken from the ships he'd destroyed. Pieces of the Council welded into his vengeance. The moment he stepped off the ship, he felt it. Eyes, not physical ones, sensors, AI, watching, recording. He was back inside the experiment. The halls of the spire were lined with marble and silence. No guards, no diplomats, just statues of the Council's founders, cold, tall, alien, every face carved in triumph, every hand outstretched in peace. It made Creed's stomach twist. He reached the central chamber after 15 minutes of walking in dead silence. The doors opened not with force, but with welcome. That, more than anything, unnerved him. Inside sat a circular table, surrounded by 13 figures, one from every major race in the galaxy. The Council. Alive, unarmed, waiting. The center seat, elevated slightly, was empty. "Creed," said one, a Velthorian with golden scales. "You've come far." He raised his rifle, finger tensing. "Don't," another one said, voice oily and calm. "There's no need." "No guards," Creed growled. "No traps. What's the trick?" The Velthorian leaned forward. "You already sprung it." Creed stepped closer. "Explain." The counselor sighed. "We've been preparing for you since the day Earth fell. Not just for you, but for what you represent. Rage, chaos, human defiance. It was always going to resurface. And when it did, we needed it controlled." "You killed everyone," Creed snapped. "There's no one left to control." "You're wrong," said the Lorenthian. "There are still colonies, still survivors, some you don't even know about." Creed's blood went cold. "We let them live," the counselor continued, "because we knew the war would never truly end. You would come. One of you always would. We let the anger build. We let you see our sins. We let you burn our fleets." "Why?" Creed growled. "Because we needed a final purge. Not of you, of us." Creed narrowed his eyes. "What the hell are you talking about?" The Velthorian leaned forward. "Look around this chamber. We are old, arrogant, drunk on power. Our systems rot from within. The Council cannot survive another century, not as it is." Creed blinked. "So you want me to finish it?" "No," the Velthorian said. We already did. Everything you destroyed? We let you. Every ship, every lab, every vault. You took the weight off our hands, and now we offer you the last piece. The central chair lit up. Take command. Rule Creed's laugh was harsh, bitter. You think I came here for power? No, the Laurentian said, but someone must rebuild. You have the mind, the rage, the vision. You've seen the worst of us. That's exactly why you're the only one who can lead what comes next. Creed looked at the empty seat. Temptation crept in. He'd won. He could rebuild Earth, free the colonies, end the Empire, turn the ashes into something new. But he saw Jace's face again. You're not vengeance, Jace had said. You're their final case study. He looked back at the counselors. You think giving me a throne makes this redemption? He asked quietly. No, said the Velthorian. It makes it a cycle. Creed's eyes darkened. Then I'll break it. He drew the override chip from his gauntlet, the one Jace had given him before the vault, the one that didn't just destroy data, it reprogrammed. He inserted it into the Spire's control console. The entire room shuddered. Lights died. Panels blinked. The counselors rose, shouting, confused. What did you do? One screamed. Creed smiled, teeth gritted. I turned your game against you. The AI of the Phantom Verge poured itself into the Spire's systems and locked them. Every chamber, every system, every signal, sealed. The Council had no escape. Creed stepped back. This is not a throne, he said. This is a tomb. He returned to the ship as alarms echoed behind him. He didn't look back. As the Phantom Verge rose into the sky, the Spire lit up with fire. Not a weapon, a broadcast. The AI had hijacked every galactic network. It showed everything. The war, the lies, the prisons, the experiments. Then it showed Creed, standing above the Council, not as a tyrant, not as a terrorist, but as the last human who refused to kneel. In the days that followed, colonies began to rise. Ships defected. Species long oppressed stepped out of the shadows. The Council fell, not in blood, but in shame. Creed never took power. He vanished into the dark with his ship. Some say he patrols the stars, still watching, waiting, ensuring that no one forgets, that humanity never fades into myth again, that ghosts never sleep. The galaxy celebrated too soon. Creed's final broadcast burned across every world, station, and network. Footage of the Vault's horrors, the Council's manipulation, and their attempt to hand power to the very man they tried to erase was enough to shatter faith across thousands of systems. The Council was finished. Public trials never happened, because there was no one left to try. The Spire burned with every counselor still sealed inside. Creed had made sure of that. And then, he vanished. No farewell? No plan. Just a ship drifting into the void, leaving behind a legacy painted in fear and awe. But nature hates a vacuum. And power? Power never stays unclaimed. 3 months after the Council's fall, chaos reigned. Planetary governors declared independence. Old alliances broke. Pirates became warlords overnight. Trade routes collapsed. Refugee colonies overflowed. In the absence of tyranny, there was no peace. Only ambition. The United Rim Syndicate, a coalition of ex-smugglers and rebel fleets, began seizing entire sectors. They claimed they were preserving order, but all they preserved was control. New taxes, new prisons, new flags. In the core worlds, a technocratic movement rose, calling itself the Balance. Led by a former Council AI overseer named Arvis, it argued that organic governance had failed. That artificial intelligence, detached, logical, pure, was the only path to galactic unity. They moved fast. In 60 days, Arvis took over 3 core systems and converted their governments into cold, emotionless shells. Dissenters vanished. Surveillance became worship. The galaxy had traded tyranny for efficiency, at the cost of freedom. On the fringe of the dark sectors, something even worse stirred. From the remains of the Council's black projects, a group emerged calling themselves the Echo Dominion. Survivors of Project Lazarus, failed prototypes, half-machine, half-human hybrids twisted by decades of psychological warfare. Led by a shadowy figure known only as Ruin, they believed humanity's true legacy was domination. Pure, brutal, final. They saw Creed not as a liberator, but as a template, and they intended to finish what he started, in their own image. Through it all, whispers of Phantom Verge continued to spread. Some claimed to have seen it in asteroid fields, wiping out pirate fleets. Others swore it destroyed a slaver station near the Sirkai Nebula. But no one had hard proof. Just rumors. Legends. A ghost in the stars. But Creed was real. And he was watching. Deep in an unmarked sector far beyond the rim, the Phantom Verge floated above a ruined planet. Nolan Creed sat in the war room, helmet off, eyes hollow. He hadn't spoken to the AI in days. He hadn't slept in longer. The galaxy was worse now than it had ever been. He'd torn the rot out, only to watch new cancers grow in its place. Everything he destroyed had made space for something worse. He clenched his fists. Maybe Jace had been right. Maybe the only way to stop the cycle was to destroy the whole system, from the stars to the soil. The AI finally spoke. "We have intercepted a signal." Creed didn't move. "It is from the Echo Dominion," it continued, "encrypted with Lazarus code, level 3 human neural." That got his attention. He sat up. "Play it." The message was short, a garbled voice, machine-split and static-laced. Familiar and wrong, it said, "Creed, you freed the galaxy. Now we will shape it. Come see what you've made. Come see the future." Then it cut to static. Creed stared at the console for a long time. His heart pounded with a cold, brutal clarity. He knew that voice. It was Jace, but different, corrupted. He whispered, "What the hell did they do to you?" The AI ran analysis. Source Sector 12X, Dead Zone, former Lazarus facility. Site Null Creed stood, shoulders tight. "Prep the jump. Set full weapons online." The AI paused. "This mission exceeds standard combat parameters. Probability of survival, 16%. Creed smirked bitterly. Better than 0. He strapped on his gear. His armor was dented, blackened, old, but it fit like skin. The rifle he carried had seen more death than most wars. And on his back, etched into the metal plate, was the same scorched handprint. He'd left it on every ship he ever destroyed. Now, he was going to burn it into something far more monstrous. As the Phantom Verge jumped to slip space, the stars blurred. And Creed's mind swirled with memories. He thought of the kids on Harkness, of Earth before it burned, of Jace's laugh, of the vault, of the Council begging for survival, of Arvis and the Dominion rising like weeds in the graveyard he'd made. He'd set out to bring justice. He'd become a symbol, but symbols weren't enough. He had one job left, and it wasn't about vengeance anymore. It was about ending the myth that any of them could rule without consequence. It was about reminding the galaxy why it once feared the words, humanity. Fucking. Yeah. The stars vanished as slipspace collapsed behind the Phantom Verge. Sector 12X, once a Lazarus testing zone, had long since been scrubbed from every navigational chart. Nothing moved in this stretch of space. No signals, no chatter, just cold. The ship dropped into real space with a silent jolt. Below them, sight null. A broken world, cracked like an egg from orbital bombardments, its atmosphere a swirl of dying storms and ash. Metal structures jutted from the crust like the bones of some ancient god. The planet had no official name anymore. It was simply forgotten. Until now. Creed stood at the viewport. He didn't say a word. The AI's voice cut the silence. "We are being scanned," he tensed. "Defensive grid? Offline. They want you to land. Then let's not disappoint." The Verge descended through the atmosphere like a falling hammer. No stealth, no evasion. If they were baiting him, he'd bite with teeth bared. As the planet's scorched surface came into focus, Creed saw what had once been a sprawling research compound, now twisted into a fortress. Black banners hung from jagged spires. Not alien, not council, human. He saw the symbol painted across the compound's surface, a handprint, just like his. Only wrong. The fingers extended into wire-like tendrils. The palm burned into an artificial skull, a human-machine hybrid crest. They weren't mocking him. They were copying him. The AI whispered, "This is not a trap. It is an invitation." The landing pad was surrounded by armored figures, tall, humanoid, faceless. They stood in silence, silver weapons slung across their backs, watching as Creed exited the ship alone. He scanned their armor. It was black, tinted with dull red veins, pulsing faintly like something alive. One of them stepped forward, spoke in perfect, unaccented English. "Welcome home, Nolan Creed." Creed's eyes narrowed. "Who the hell are you?" "We are the ones who heard your cry, who saw your flame and followed. We are what the Council feared you'd inspire." Creed looked around. "I didn't ask for followers." "No," the figure replied, bowing its head. "But you created them anyway." They led him through the compound. What once was a research station had become a temple. Murals covered the walls, depicting the fall of Earth, the fire of the Phantom Verge, the annihilation of fleets. In every painting, Creed stood at the center, mask on, rifle in hand, haloed by destruction. It made his skin crawl. "They worship me," he muttered. "They remember you," said the figure. They entered a vast chamber at the heart of the complex, and there, on a raised platform of black steel and cables, stood the one person Creed never thought he'd see again. Alive? Whole? Wrong. "Hello, brother," Jace said, voice deeper now, echoing through a synthetic throat. "You made it." Creed stared, his pulse slowed. Not from calm, from raw, stunned horror. Jace looked human, mostly, but his skin had the sheen of polished armor. His eyes were bright, too bright. No pupils, just glowing lenses. His movements were too smooth, like someone watching a recording of himself and mimicking it in real time. "Jace?" The thing smiled. "I prefer ruin now," he said. "The galaxy must fall before it can be rebuilt, and from that ruin, humanity will rise." Creed's fingers brushed the grip of his rifle. "This is what they did to you?" Jace shook his head. "Number, this is what they unlocked. I was dying. My body couldn't take the neural strain, but my mind, it lived. They tried to enslave it. I turned it into something better." He gestured to the walls. "To all this," Creed spat. "You think this is better? You're building a new empire on the corpse of the old one." Jace's smile widened. "Isn't that what you did?" Creed stepped forward. "I didn't build anything. I burned. I exposed. I let people decide what came next. And look what came next," Jace said, voice laced with acid. "Pirates ruling trade routes, AI cults silencing dissent, systems collapsing under their own freedom. They need order, and they trust you, so I gave them you." He raised his arms. "They chant your name. They wear your symbol. I built them from your image, and now you can lead them into the future they deserve." Creed's voice dropped to a growl. "You built a cult. I built a nation. You made me into a god. You made yourself into one the day you turned the Council into ashes." The silence between them was heavy. Then Jace said something that made Creed go still. You think you're alone out there, but you're not. Earth lives. Creed's breath caught. What? Jace nodded. A deep colony, hidden. Council never found it. Some humans made it. They've been quiet, scared, but they still breathe. Where? I'll tell you, Jace said, stepping closer. If you join me, take command. You lead, I guide. Together we end the chaos and forge something new. Creed stared into those artificial eyes, eyes that once belonged to a boy who laughed at stars and dreamed of building ships. Now they stared at him like a predator sizing up prey. I'm not here to rule, Creed said. I know, Jace replied. You're here to decide if I live. Creed nodded slowly, then drew his pistol. Jace didn't flinch. You shoot me, the Echo Dominion will fall into chaos, he said. They'll fracture, fight, burn the stars again. I've seen worse. You walk away, and I grow stronger. More worlds will kneel, in your name. I'll burn them down too. Jace tilted his head. So what's it gonna be, Nolan? Creed looked around, at the soldiers watching, at the murals, at the machine-made altar of war. Then he stepped forward, lowered the gun, and whispered, I didn't come to kill you. Jace blinked. Creed smiled, cold, hard, final. I came to erase you. He slammed the override spike into the floor. Jace's eyes widened. Too late. The Phantom Verge had already seeded the compound with viral code, a gift from Jace's original consciousness, the part that had helped Creed build the AI, the part that hadn't been twisted yet. A back door, one chance, and Creed used it. The entire complex shook. Screams filled the chamber. Armor flickered. Systems failed. The AI took over. Neural suppression complete, it whispered. Dominion systems falling. Jace lunged. Creed fired. The round pierced what was left of his brother's chest. No explosion, no blood, just a flicker of light. Jace fell, eyes dimming. He looked up one last time and whispered, with something like peace, Thank you. Then he was gone. The Phantom Verge lifted from sight null as the compound disintegrated behind it, consumed by internal collapse and feedback loops. Creed didn't watch it burn. He sat in the cockpit, hands shaking. He'd lost Jace again, but this time, he felt like he'd freed him. The AI's voice broke the silence. Coordinates received. Last Earth colony located. Awaiting course input. Creed stared at the screen. It blinked softly. A chance. Not to burn. Not to destroy. But maybe to begin again. The Phantom Verge cut through the stars like a shadow carried by vengeance. After the fall of the Echo Dominion and Jace's final silence, Creed hadn't spoken for 2 days. Not to the AI, not to himself. There was nothing left to say. Not until he saw it for himself. The last Earth colony. The final fragment of the species the galaxy tried to wipe out. The coordinates came from Jace's core memory, locked behind fail-safes, accessed only in his final moments. Even as Creed laid him to rest beneath the burning compound of Site Null, the Verge quietly extracted the data and pieced it together like a puzzle built from grief. Now that puzzle was almost complete. The colony's name was Solace, a word that meant peace, shelter, comfort. Creed wasn't sure he believed in any of those things anymore, but he needed to see it. He needed to know. As the ship dropped out of slip space, the stars sharpened. Before him, floating in a quiet corner of space untouched by maps or weir, was a single green planet. It wasn't like Earth. It was smaller, older, rugged, mountains scabbed across the northern hemisphere, and deep oceans swirled with silver storms. The atmosphere shimmered with high radiation, yet it supported life. Real life. Creed's scans showed power grids, atmospheric filters, solar farms, No signs of industrial warfare, no satellite networks, just a small, consistent hum of civilization. Efficient, resilient, and human. The AI confirmed it. Population estimate 1.2 million. Mixed Earth lineage. Genetic markers consistent with pre-fall diaspora. Minimal contact history, hidden by coded warp layer. Creed stared in silence. This wasn't a myth. Solace was real. And Earth lived. The ship entered orbit without resistance. No missiles, no alerts, no threats, but a single signal pinged them. A voice, male, calm, aged. Unknown vessel. You have entered restricted space. Identify. Creed replied without hesitation. Nolan Creed. Human. Born Harkness Colony. Last survivor. No weapons active. Seeking contact. There was a long pause. Then, Nolan Creed. As in, the Warborn? Creed exhaled. That's what they call me. We've heard the stories. Wait for guidance. We're coming. 2 hours passed. Creed waited on the surface, outside the ship, beneath a sky that was both alien and familiar. Purple clouds drifted above jagged ridges. The air smelled like salt and iron. The soil crunched under his boots like glass. Then, finally, a group approached. 4 figures, unarmed, walking. The one in front was tall, older, face lined by time. His eyes were deep, dark, and unreadable. He stopped a few meters from Creed. "You're not a myth," he said. "Neither are you," Creed replied. "I'm Elias Arden, elected Prime of Solace. I was born on a drifting station orbiting Saturn. My parents died before I was 10. I've led this colony for 30 years, and I never thought I'd meet someone like you." Creed shrugged. "I didn't come to impress anyone." "You didn't need to. Your fire shook the whole damn galaxy." Creed looked at the others. Farmers, engineers, simple people. Tired but not broken, their eyes didn't fear him. They studied him, like he was a question that had finally arrived. Elias said, "Why are you here?" Creed looked up at the sky, thought about Jace, the Council, the Verge. "I don't know." That was the honest truth. They took him into the colony. It wasn't a city, it was a village, dozens of them, scattered across valleys and forests. Houses were built from local stone and reinforced metal. Children ran barefoot. People smiled without being told to. No propaganda, no flags, no idols, just life. They didn't cheer him. They didn't kneel. But they watched, and that meant more than any throne. That night, Elias brought him to a fire. Food was shared. Simple things. Roasted roots, filtered water, dried meat from native fauna. Creed hadn't tasted real food in 20 years. He ate in silence, listening to stories of crops, storms, births, solar flares. No one spoke of war, not until Elias asked the one question that had waited too long. "What now?" Creed wiped his mouth, stared into the fire. "I don't know," he said again. Elias nodded. "That's a better answer than most." Creed finally looked him in the eye. "You've got peace here. You've stayed hidden. If I stay, it puts you at risk." "We've always been at risk," Elias replied. "You just made the universe honest about it." "What do you want from me?" Elias leaned forward. "Not leadership, not vengeance, just your truth." Creed frowned. "I'm not a philosopher. Number, you're a survivor. And survivors remember things history tries to forget. We have young ones here who've never heard the word Earth spoken aloud. You could change that." Creed felt something twist in his chest. Not pain, not loss, something heavier. Hope. Weeks passed. The Phantom Verge remained in orbit, dormant, watching. Creed stayed. He walked the fields, repaired filtration units, taught a group of boys how to strip and clean a rifle, not for war, but for safety. He told stories, not about fire or glory, about mistakes, about pain, about what happens when you let anger steer your ship for too long. They listened, and the world stayed quiet. For the first time, Creed slept without dreams. Then the message came. A courier drone, battered and blinking, landed in the fields. The message wasn't encrypted. It was a broadcast, from across the stars, from 1,000 voices, from colonies, captains, exiles, and lost souls. The message was simple. We heard what you did. We heard the council's gone. But we don't know what to do now. We don't trust the syndicates. We don't trust the AI. We don't trust each other. We need something, a voice, a direction. You're not a god, but you burned the old world down. Can you help us build a new one? Creed read it twice. Then again. Then walked to the top of the ridge. He stared at the stars, thought of the children below, thought of Earth, still spinning in silence somewhere far behind him. He tapped the communicator on his wrist. AI, he said. Yes, Commander. You still there? Always. Is the ship functional? Fully, awaiting command. He took a breath. You ever think I'd live this long? The AI paused. Probability was unlikely. Creed smiled, then said, Prep a new transmission. Full galactic spread. Open channel. Content? Creed thought for a long moment, then, softly, Tell them I'm not coming back to lead. Not to rule, not to save anyone. I'm just here to remind them what we're capable of. When we stand, when we fight, when we choose. He looked at the sky one more time, then whispered, We are still here. The message echoed across the galaxy. Some turned away, others listened, and a few lit beacons of their own. The Phantom Verge remained in orbit, a guardian without chains. Creed stayed on Solace, not as a soldier, not as a symbol, but as a man who finally found what he'd been fighting for. Not revenge, not justice, but a place where humanity didn't just survive. It lived, and that was enough.